Hey everyone, and welcome back to Quitting Weed Together. How do you know if it is finally time for you to quit smoking marijuana? Little background on myself, I smoked weed almost every day for nearly 10 years. I didn't start till a little later in life, but once I started and I kept going. And I knew very shortly after I started that it was time for me to quit, but it took probably another 7 years of trying and failing and going back and forth before I finally have made it now. At this point, it's been about almost 2 months, and it's been the longest break I've made it. And I know that this is going to be not only just a break for a long time, but this is going to last for a really long time. If I do smoke again, it will be a mistake or a slip up, not me going back into it. But how do you know if it's time for you to quit smoking weed? Well, the first thing I'll say is, you already know, and you know what I mean when I say that. We make lots of excuses, but I'm sure you've had times already where you're thinking, dude, this is not fun anymore. It starts out being really good, and it was awesome for me until it wasn't. You find that you need to smoke every day in order to get through. You might be saying things or making excuses to yourself like, oh, well, it's my medicine. There's way worse things that I could be doing. Sure, definitely. There's always worse things you could be doing. Even if you're on heroin, they'll tell themselves, well, I'm not on fentanyl. And even if you're on fentanyl, well, you know what? It would feel worse to have to go through life sober, blah, blah, blah. There's always excuses that we make for ourselves. Weed isn't that bad. Sure, maybe for some people. For me, it ruined my life. It made me unbelievably depressed. It made me have really harmful self-harm thoughts. It made me not present for so much of my life. It made my memory to the point where there's so many things that I've done that I barely remember because I was so high while doing them. So, do you feel tired all the time? Well, that's probably because you're smoking all the time. Do you feel like the only way that you really get pleasure in life is when you're smoking weed? Do you feel as though, you're about to go to the store and you say, you know what, I'm going to smoke before I go to the store. I'm going to smoke before I go for this car ride. I'm going to smoke because, I haven't smoked in the last couple hours, or my friend is coming over. We're going to smoke together. Replace smoking with alcohol. Put it in your mind. Don't actually replace smoking with alcohol, but replace the mindset of smoking with alcohol. If you knew somebody that was saying, you know what, I need to go to the store, I'm going to just do a quick shot. You know what, my friends come over, let's drink some. You know what, wake and bake. What if it was instead, wake and drink? Well, that would be a very, very high, maybe not even a high functioning, but if you were able to do all the things you could do while being high, that would be a high functioning alcoholic. But for some reason with weed, we just make those excuses and we tell ourselves that it's okay. Do you feel as though you're getting anxious all the time and then you say, oh, well, weed helps my anxiety? It might help your anxiety temporarily. So like when you first smoke, you might start by feeling a little bit less anxious. That's the same relief that somebody gets when they have a cigarette or something like that. But in the long term, it's actually really causing you a lot more anxiety, because what it's doing is it's messing up your cannabinoid receptors. These are natural receptors that we have in our brain, that we have androgenous cannabinoids that are all throughout our body and that bind to those receptors. When we smoke all the time, basically what happens is the drug fills those spots and it makes it so that the natural chemicals in our body that regulate our emotions, our sleep, all of that stuff, aren't able to actually to bind to those because the weed is already binded there. So they just kind of give up. And that's why when we first quit smoking weed, we have such irregular emotions. We have all of these problems that arise that, really are withdrawal. And really what it is that your cannabinoids are just all out of whack. You haven't really been able to feel regular emotions for who knows how long, because all of your emotions have been clouded by this weed mask, as I like to call it. So if you're feeling any of that stuff, it might be time to quit, or at the very least give a tolerance break. But the problem with tolerance break is that we're taking a break with the ambition and with the idea that we're going to start smoking again. And For me, this is really honestly the first time probably since I started smoking where I feel I have no THC left in my body. Everything I'm feeling is totally from what my normal emotions are. I haven't even drank in a while, and I'm trying to just experience and live this sober life. I was at the point where I have my safety zone, as we like to call it. It's basically like it's a spot where whether we're drinking, smoking, any of that stuff, like my dad smokes cigars and his is on the porch, but my safety zone was this spot in my basement where I would be getting through the day and just looking forward so much to go down to this spot in my basement where I could just veg out, I could smoke some weed, I could play some video games, I could just chill, whatever it was. It was my sacred spot. And really, it seems like it's healthy, but it's really not a healthy thing because we are basing so much of our life around getting to that safety spot. And then even if I would smoke right away, I'd be chilling down there because now I'm really high. Or sometimes I wouldn't even smoke. I was using it as an excuse to veg out and not do anything. And sometimes we need those. But there's a difference between I need this or I get to do this and I have to do this. And if you are at the point in your smoking life or whatever where you are, I have to do this or I need to do this, it's probably time to put it up. And I know that it's hard and you might even be thinking right now, like, this is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Well, that is even more so why you probably need to take a break. The addicted mind really will create all kinds of reasons as to why we should do something, why we should smoke, why we need to do this. You may have even had times where you've smoked and then immediately afterwards you felt like, oh, I didn't really need to do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's because wise mind kicks back in. You've now fed the addiction and you're able to actually think a little more clearly. For me, as whenever I would try to quit and I'd go long periods or I'd be in the middle of quitting and then I would smoke, immediately I would feel regret. I'd feel like, oh, why did I do this, blah, blah, blah. And 10 seconds before that, I had put every justification into my mind as to why it would be good and okay and justified for me to smoke. So if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, please put them in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe and like this video for more videos like this because you guys are the ones that have kept me sober this long. Having this communication with you all and reading your stories in the comments and stuff have really helped me. There's days where when I think about, oh, I could just smoke weed. Well, if I smoke, I'm going to have to tell, all the people that I've made friendships with on here that I messed up. And, that will happen probably one day. I hope not. But if it does, it's going to be okay. But that day is not today. And that day is not going to be tomorrow. And it's not going to be anytime soon. And so if you're ready to quit, if you feel as though you need to quit and this video is related with you, feel free to check out some of the other videos. I love you guys so much. And together, we can do this and get over this non-addictive drug. Thank you guys.